continue our interview with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, Mr. Linas Linkevičius. Can we talk a little bit about Lithuania and NATO? You were the Lithuanian permanent representative to NATO from 2005 to 2011. Do you think Russia would dare to start an open conflict with any of the NATO member states, including Lithuania? Or do you think that they just have enough balls to bully the weaker opponents, such as Ukraine and Georgia?
It's not about balls, it's about brains. You know, it would be total madness to think about that. But look, if something happening not rational, maybe it's not argument. But nevertheless, I believe really it's not realistic. But it doesn't mean that we should be calm and relaxed. We really should look around, and when we're talking about security of your Atlantic area, that doesn't mean just security of our territory. We should look around, and something happening unstable, aggressive around, we really should take measures, and that's taken, frankly speaking, and probably you know, NATO summit in Wales, very good decisions, now they're about to be implemented, these decisions, but basically, yes, they have to do with the territorial integrity, safety of our people, of our territories, of our countries, I mean NATO, of course, because it's a mandate of NATO countries, and we are doing this. But you probably agree, NATO not just keeping silence, also informing public at large, informing about situation, developments, sharing intelligence information. I believe that was very helpful to find the truth, to understand the picture, especially with regard to the presence of Russian troops on Ukrainian soil, or heavy weapons, or concrete, so to say, means, which is denied, as we know, all the time, but very difficult to deny what is obvious. And I believe NATO, in this campaign, informing people, plays not the last role, if you agree.
Absolutely. Mr. Minister, how much of a threat has Russia become in the past year and a half for the security on the entire European continent?
Yeah, it's disbalanced a lot, and you know, now we're starting to talk about threats not only conventional, but also hybrid threats, about something which was mentioned, but not putting emphasis on that, for instance, cyber threats, energy threats, even information war. It's something new terminology, but it's happening. And you know, to spoil some brains, you know, to litter oceans, we all know what that means, because littering of oceans, it's a big deal, and we're organizing world summits. But littering of minds, it's not less detrimental, because you're preparing people which passively listening to some lies, and you can really try to manipulate them, which is also big power. We didn't talk about that very seriously some time ago. Now we do, and again, Russian behavior helped to start thinking in these new terms. A lot of eyes-opening exercises happening as we speak. Again, I would say not enough in my view, because sometimes it takes too much time to find out what's happening, to realize that it's really serious. Sometimes we are doing too little, sometimes doing too late. This is again the fact, but doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Now that you've mentioned the hybrid war and information war being a big part of this hybrid war, obviously Ukraine is losing this information war to Russia. Do you think the West is also losing information war?
Yes, I think we all are losing, because we are neglecting, underestimating, and we sometimes, not we, in Lithuania, let me make it clear, but sometimes my colleagues think that it's just freedom of speech, but cannot be freedom of lies, you know, it cannot be. It's not media if you're spreading lies. If you're doing that repeatedly, focused, backed by big resources, this is really something else. It's not freedom of speech or media, it's something else. And again, we shouldn't think about censorship or prohibitions. We should think what we should do in order to present to the people, to public at large, more alternative sources of information. I'm not saying that another state-controlled media, which is even controlled by good state, one can say. No, it's not the way to do. We should really facilitate alternative sources to make it more assertive, more accountable, to deny lies, not to leave it as it is. Because if you repeat lies 10, 15 times, it's becoming true. Even if you're a passive listener, even if you will say to your friends that have nothing to do with politics, I don't like it, but passively you're receiving this information in between of your favorable programs, and that's the result. So we really should take very seriously these means of new hybrid war, just as example, and we really should review our manuals and a bit change our tactics to be more active. We can win this war. We agreed that we are losing, but we can win. We're capable, but we're not doing that because underestimating the factor so far.
Mr. Linkevičius, it's not a secret that Russia is financing far-right political parties and movements in Europe, and French Front National is one of the most vivid examples of this. And here's the biggest hypocrisy, where Russia, on one hand, is trying to oppose the right-wing movement, nationalist movements in Ukraine. It is totally fine and happy to support the right-wing political parties and movements in Europe. What do you think Russia is trying to gain in the EU by this?
It's a very interesting trick and very good question you put it, because it has to do not only with hypocrisy, but also some interesting new features of propaganda when somebody tries to take monopoly of defending some values, which looks like unquestionable. For instance, fighting with fascism. They are sometimes accusing Baltic countries they're fascists, or Ukrainians, as you know, it's not a big secret that fascist country, Ukrainians who sacred so many lives during the Second World War. So I believe it's not just, I don't know how it's taken by Ukrainians, but probably it's a big insult. And at the same time, we're always saying that's important not only to condemn fascism, as who can argue that we must do that every day, or to condemn Holocaust, which is also over a long time ago, but yeah, we have to remember and have to make sure that it will never be repeated. But not less important, if you agree, to defend these values today. And today, as you said, we see that they are hosting some new neo-fascist movements or parties or whatever, radicals, which is really not less detrimental than to fight or not to fight fascism of 60 years ago or something like that. So these tricks cannot be just overlooked. And we cannot allow to keep anyone, whomever they are, to take this monopoly of defending values, which are common values. And they are really timeless, frankly speaking. It's not just stick to some concrete moment. And we also have this phenomena today, and just I can share with you these thoughts. And by the way, it's not just sharing these thoughts, but we are defending these positions in our discussions in the forums, or as being non-permanent members of UN Security Council. We raised these issues, and I raised myself these issues, not once and not twice, talking about that. And it's very important not just to listen, but to understand that we should mean what we talk.
Mr. Minister, and my final question, again going back to NATO, if Ukraine decided to join the alliance, would Lithuania support this decision? And do you think Ukraine should be joining NATO?
Lithuania will support this decision, definitely. It's a decision of Ukraine. I have to remind you that those who are following the case, in 2008 in NATO summit in Bucharest, it was a document which was agreed by heads of states of NATO, that Ukraine and Georgia will be members of NATO, I'm quoting, full stop. Ukraine was deleted from that sentence sometime later because of the reasons we all know, because of official position of Ukrainian government at that time. But that in 2008 was clearly, so to say, indicated and illustrated the position of NATO countries, not only Lithuania. Also, those who are saying that they can not do that for some reasons, it's not right, because Article 10 of NATO Treaty talks about open door policy for NATO, for European nations, which are fulfilling some commitments, obligations, criteria, and they are legitimate, so to say. Also, Russia, I would like to say, they can theoretically be, so to say, eligible to consider this option. I'm talking now literally, so to say, quoting this NATO Treaty. But when it comes to Ukraine, it's even more concrete, even more tangible. Even I can quote some documents from 2008. So yes, of course, but it's a decision of Ukraine.
Understood. Well, let's see what kind of decision Ukraine will make. Mr. Minister, many thanks for coming to us and talking to us. This was Volodymyr Sulhu for Ukraine Today, together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, Mr. Linas Linkevičius. Thank you for watching us.